Hi, I'm Rowan.
Hi, I'm Alyssa.
And this is what we're not taking to our graves.
And this week, we have our very first listener email.
I feel like that's a good way to put it.
I'm really excited.
But the fun part is it's from a male perspective.
Yes.
Which I honestly wasn't expecting to get, so I'm really excited.
I wasn't either. I was shocked when it came through. Did you see it before I told you to run to the email?
No, I was editing, and then you texted me, and I was like, God, did we get a hate email already? I'm ready. Like, I was gearing up. Like, that's part of what we're doing here. We're putting controversial shit out.
Yes. I was so excited, and literally nothing makes me feel like more of a celebrity than when we get like a DM or a little submission on the website, and then we got a whole ass email back. Like, so we got the submission on the website and we asked for more elaboration, and then we got a whole ass email back, like really fast too.
Yeah, no, he responded so fast.
I was like, oh my gosh, we're so popular. Literally, as I'm like sitting on the floor surrounded by 5 babies, one of them literally spit up on me as I was like typing a response to this email.
I'm sorry, you're doing this on your work time?
If you're my boss, no, you're not.
If your boss is listening to this, I think we got bigger problems.
We for sure do. And so anyways, we're really excited. He brought up a lot of really interesting questions and perspectives. And we're going to keep him anonymous just because he gave us like an alias when he did the first submission. Eventually he did reveal who he was, but because the first time he was anonymous, we're going to respect that. We're going to respect that. We're going to keep it that way. But he did bring up a lot of interesting perspectives. He asked a couple really good questions. And as we were reading through it and we were replying and just kind of having this conversation with him, I was like, Rowan, I really think that we should talk about these things. And even one of the things he was like, I feel like you guys haven't talked about this, you haven't brought it up, I feel like it would be a good point. And as we've been saying for the last 7 episodes, if you guys have something that you want us to talk about, fucking send it in and we'll talk about it. Like,
we will. Like, this is the first episode after he submitted it. We're talking about it. So
yes, whatever we had planned on talking about this week, we're not, because
our jar of ideas is on the counter over there, and she ain't getting her moment this week because we got this email.
Exactly. So I think we'll read and then we'll chat and then we'll just keep reading.
Okay. As far as my question on what it is you truly desire, I like to find out what makes people tick, what type of fantasy they would like to create, and yes, it is a loaded question. The desires can and should be used in any and all contexts. Relationships, intimacy, growths, kinks, etc. We all work towards our own individual and collective happiness, and thus we should ask what it is we truly desire. It is a way for us to get to an experience in building the life we want.
Okay. So first off, I want to say that whenever we got the submission and the alias was Shadow Daddy, I shit myself. And I literally texted you and I was like, this is a kinky man.
You did. Actually, what you said was something along the lines of, I don't know if you know how much joy it brings me to know that a kinky man is listening to our podcast. That's what you said. Let's be honest.
If we're gonna be honest, we're gonna be honest.
Yes, okay.
And because, come on, Shadow Daddy.
I mean, that alias, it says a lot without saying a lot, you know?
I'm here for it. You know who you are. 10 out of 10. Keep doing what you're doing. And so that alias alone gives me an idea of what kind of things that you're into in your free time. I don't know if it gives the average Joe the kind of, like, an idea of what you're into in your free time. But, like, it gives, I've got an inkling, okay? Something that I learned and was very heavily preached almost in, like, the kink community is communication. Communication while you're actively having sex, before, after, like,
it's a big reason they probably have safe words, right?
Yes.
Because you have to be able to, like, call it when you need to.
And so reading that paragraph, that's immediately where my mind went, right? And so he's using all this language that is very commonly used in the kink community. Like, it's very heavily encouraged to beat the conversation into the ground almost. So if you are my partner, right, whether you're my romantic partner or you're just my partner for a scene, we've just decided, hey, I really want to try flogging. Will you flog me? We would sit and have a conversation surrounding it and say, okay, what are you comfortable with? How many times do you want to be hit with each flogger? How many different floggers do you want to try? What are your safe words for I'm okay, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, I'm a little more uncomfortable, but you're okay to keep going, or please stop right now? Because there's not just one safe word that means stop. There's different levels to it, right? And so all of those are communicated beforehand. What are your nonverbal signs that I can look out for? If things go very well, what else would you like to try? If things go badly, how can I care for you in that moment so that you feel secure and you don't leave here feeling like a hot mess crying? Like, so when I was reading that paragraph, that's immediately where my brain went. And that is something that is very much translated into my normal sex life. The minute that I learned that there was a world in which people were communicating about sex with their sexual partners so intentionally, it fucking changed my world. And that's what he's saying, is to have these conversations on what do you desire? What are your biggest dreams? What do you want? And I think that we do that to some extent with our partners, but I wonder how often are normal people doing it?
I don't know. Do you have the deepest fantasy or desire? Like, have you told Bryson that?
Yes.
So, like, I'd have to really think on it. I don't even know what my deepest desire and fantasy is, truthfully, like, off the top of my head. Couldn't tell you.
Really?
I mean, there are things, like, I would like to try, but would I classify them as my deepest fantasy?
That's fair.
You know what I mean? I don't have something at the top of my list that I'm like, I really want to do this with
you. Don't have anything that, like, you couldn't do tonight when you got home?
I couldn't tell you what my deepest fantasy or desire is, right? But I could, tell you, like, something fun I want to try. So, it kind of varies, because what do you truly desire? For me, it's like, if you're asking a literal sexual sense, I could give you a couple positions. Want to whip out a Kama Sutra? Like, let's go. But other than that, I don't have something that I feel like I'm missing in my sex life. Now, if we're talking about life-wise, that's a different story. But I feel like this is more of the sexual manner, like you're saying.
So I do have, like, 2 or 3 what I would consider to be my greatest fantasies. But, like, I don't feel like by not having them, I'm missing anything from my life. Does that make sense? It's just, like, kind of like a bucket list thing. Like, if I die without doing them, it'll be fine. But, like, if the cards align, that would be super fucking dope.
I get what you mean. But you've already expressed all these in your current relationship.
I think so.
When I think of what you truly desire, knowing nothing about the intimate details of, like, the kink community, but, based on what you're saying about how this verbiage is very similar, I feel like when you ask somebody what they truly desire, especially in a intimate sexual setting, it is something that may not feel as, like, an easy topic to talk about or bring up, or maybe they're a little more shy about it, or they aren't sure if their partner's going to react well to it. That's what it sounds like to me.
I feel like it's kind of the same in and out of the kink community. I feel like this kind of is true in every facet of life. It's always going to be extremely hard to say out loud something that you truly deeply want. It's always going to be really, really hard to look someone in the eye, especially someone who you love and care about and whose opinion you care about and whose respect you want, to say something that you truly want. Because when you use the word desire, it's past a want, right? It's something that you almost need. Right. And so to admit that, like, there's something that I want so badly, and then just sit with those words in the air, I think that no matter what aspect of life you're looking at, that's hard.
I agree. That makes a lot of sense.
When you say, this is something that I want so bad, my heart hurts for it.
Yeah. It is harder, too, when it's someone you already are intertwined with emotionally, physically, mentally. I feel like it's a good question, and it's something we probably don't ask ourselves often enough. He's right on the nose with that. We don't ask ourselves that, and even if we do have some hidden desire.
Well, think about it. When's the last time you, like, sat down with Henry and asked him, like, in any area of life?
Not since early dating.
It's not something that we talk about often, because I think we kind of assume that we know. Yeah, it's like we have the first date conversations. We go on XYZ amount of dates. And then we don't think that those wants or those needs change. Yeah. And we almost have this, like, expectation that our partner's going to tell us if something changes. And that's not true. I mean, you and I literally went through it in the best and worst place possible, where we were basically developing our frontal lobes while we were married and young mothers. And so I feel like that's a great example of it, because we changed and grew so much as individuals, like, and we had to navigate that. And obviously we navigated all the way to the courtroom to get divorced, but other than that, it's a valid thing to think about, and it's true. I think it's a really good point you brought up. I just think that it's something to think about, and I loved that he brought it up. And with that, he sent us this article that talked about how there are different kinds of people who are born with different levels of desires.
Yeah, we'll link the article in the description.
We'll link the article. And so the theory is that some people are born with a lot of desires. And the caveat with that is if you're born with a lot of desires, you have kind of a shallow depth for those desires. You have all of these things that you love and you're interested in and you want to be a part of, but you don't have a lot to give to all of them, right? And then it just kind of trickles down to the people who have less desires, but they have a more of a depth that they're able to apply to those. And then it kind of trickles all the way down to the people who, in the article, it says were born with just one desire, and that's God, and they're meant to be like monks and prophets and that sorts of things, like priests and whatnot. And when I read that article, I had heard that train of thinking multiple times, and I just have never seen the source material for it. And I replied to him and I told him the story that I had someone try to insult me. Like it was a dig at me, saying that I don't have enough interests and that I care too much about the wrong things, all in the same breath. And when I read that article, it kind of just like reiterated for me that like that's not the case. It's fine that I have not that many interests, because it's true that I don't. Like, I like what I like and it is what it is. But I've always been a person who loves hard and fast. And when I care about something, I go in full send. How many times have I called you and been like, dude, I just did a deep ass dive.
Oh my gosh.
And here's XYZ and blah, blah, blah. Like, I may not have the world's longest list of hobbies, but the things that I care about, I know. And for a while there, I kind of saw that as like a bad personality trait. And it was one of those things that like someone tells you it's a bad personality trait about yourself and you're like, why? Like, why is that a bad thing about me? That article just kind of like reiterated for me that like it's not a bad thing. It's just that like my brain doesn't work like the other people's. And so it was really cool because it tied into his topics on desire. We all have different desires and different depths to our desire. And that's cool. That's fine. That's great. That's what makes us fucking beautiful. Like, I think we've said it at least twice on here before that, like, the beauty of this literal existence is that we're all human and we're all different. And if we were the same, that would be so fucking boring. And so that was really cool. Thanks, Shadow Daddy, for giving me that little bit of validation this week. Really appreciated it. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really interesting, little thing he threw at us there. And I'm curious as to how often other people are having those conversations with their partners.
We get caught up in the day-to-day, and it's very easy to do. And like you said, we kind of think the person we started dating, marrying, we think they're going to stay the same. And I think that's probably what people talk about when it comes to making lifelong partnerships, marriages work, is that you have to be able to adapt and grow together.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't have an open mindset to that, you're going to struggle a little bit more. And just because you don't think about day-to-day desires doesn't mean you don't have an open mindset, but it's a great starting point to open it up. It is a really great question, and I'm really glad he asked it because, I don't know, we may have eventually come around to getting there on our own, but I feel like he really helped us, like, jump into a really good conversation.
That's literally what this email submission is for. Read the rest of the email.
Oh. A question that I don't think y'all have addressed. How do you feel about transactional relationship where someone does something for someone in exchange for the other, i.e. quid pro quo? Do you think that there are people that solely live by this? And is it something that should be accepted in a healthy relationship? Do you or have you ever done something for your significant other without thinking about what's in it for you? Have they done things for you? What happens when the tables turn and someone is upset that they didn't get what they wanted or they're not into whatever that is? Just some food for thought.
What's the first question?
How do you feel about transactional relationships where someone does something for someone in exchange for the other? So an example of this would be, you go down on me, I go down on you, right?
Right. I feel like it happens, but I feel like it's fine as long as there's not a tally.
Yeah. Well, I was actually just thinking, in healthy relationships too, I feel like you almost want to do tit for tat.
Yes.
Like,
but I feel like you're not calling it that.
No, you're not thinking about it that way. Like, if Henry randomly is just like taking care of me, I'm going to want to take care of him.
Well, see, and that was kind of what I was thinking. I hope I'm not putting you guys on blast here, but you guys do a lot of that.
We literally had once where we called it the week of head, where we just took turns for us, like, it was just a way for us to kind of reconnect. We were just making sure, like, we were being super intentional with our sex life. And I was feeling a little, like, disconnected. We'd been really busy. And so he came up with the idea and he called it that. And so that's kind of where I think it really started, was like when we moved in together and life gets busier, like our sex life was still good, but you know how it is. It's just normal ebb and flow of day-to-day life. And so it kind of started that way. And so then I think it's just carried on. It's just something we kind of naturally fell into.
I think I've said it before, but I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I mean, I enjoy it. I'm not going to lie.
I bet you do. When we were reading this email earlier, you also had the kind of idea that he was implying a sugar daddy, sugar baby type relationship with this question.
My instant thought was the young girls that marry old rich men, because respectfully, when I got divorced, I for sure said I was going to be one of them. I was like, if I'm ever getting married again, it's for money.
I mean...
Okay, stop. Don't look at that. What do you want me to do? You want me to put it up to the freaking camera now? She's talking about my engagement ring for the record, because I think some people are just listening to this, so they're going to be confused.
I mean, you got a rock. It's not a rock. It's a boulder. I'm just saying, manifestation is real.
It takes care of us. I don't know what to tell you.
I didn't say he wasn't.
I just feel like that is a very good example of it, because both of those people are getting what they want.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's the healthiest relationship out there. You should strive to do it, but...
but here's the thing is, I know someone where I'm pretty confident that that's the situation. And they're happy. They're very happy. They're, like... They seem to be very much in love. Like, I'm not going to say, like, that I know the ins and outs of their relationship. Like, you know, behind closed doors, anything can happen. But if that works for you, then that works for you.
That was my initial thought, too. Reading that question, I was kind of, like, neutral. Why do I need to have a say in what you're doing? If you're content, like, we're not talking about any cases of abuse, of course. I don't mean that. But just, like, if you want to marry someone for money and they get off on having a hot young thing on their arm, who am I to have an opinion on?
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with that.
What was the next part?
Do you think that there are some people that solely live by this, and is it something that should be accepted in a healthy relationship? And again, I kind of feel like it's like, not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah, I would say that if you're asking for my opinion, which you are, because this is my podcast.
I'm sorry, your podcast?
Yes. In this moment right now when I'm talking. If it solely is that we're keeping a scoreboard and I did this, so you need to do that, and he did this, so now I need to do that. No, I don't think that's healthy. Like, if we really are keeping track to that extent, whether or not this is marrying for money, sugar baby, sugar daddy, or just a very organically in love couple, whatever it is, if the scoreboard is kept to that degree, then no, I don't think that's healthy. Yeah. I mean, again, that's just my opinion. I think that in most normal relationships, it's probably not kept to that degree. And I think that if it is, I think that one or both parties probably recognizes that it's not healthy.
Yeah. So what do you think about transactional relationships in a whole?
I feel like they exist to a point whether or not we realize it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that every relationship to some degree is transactional, because every relationship you have, you are getting something from that person. Now, I'm not sitting here and keeping score.
Maybe it's the mindset is the difference. The relationship itself is more important, right?
So do we think that maybe it's not the actual transaction part of the relationship, but the mindset and the actions behind it?
I think so.
That would be the unhealthy part of it?
I think so.
Because, for example, like, something really nice that Bryson has always done for me is that if he's out and about while I'm at work, he'll stop and get me a Coke. Yeah. And he'll drop it off to me. And it's so cute. And I remember the first time he did it, I, like, just about died.
I think that's a great example, though. Because he doesn't do that because he's expecting you to do it.
No, so he's done it. He's done it so many times. And it's just something that he does because he's out and about. He's a Dr. Pepper man, and so when he wants to go get himself a Dr. Pepper, he knows I'm a beverage girly till I fucking die, and so he knows that I probably want something to drink. Just last week, the kids and I were out and about, and he was at work, and he was like, man, I forgot to get some caffeine before I went into work, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's my time to shine. I said, don't even worry about it, sweetheart. We will roll into the gas station 4 deep and grab you some caffeine. You hungry too? Do you need a snack? Let me get you a snack. I got that man some caffeine. I got him a protein bar. We rolled through the Shipley's drive-thru. I got that man some kolaches. I rolled up and I said, here's all your things. And he was like, oh, thank you. You really didn't have to do this. And I was like, I've been waiting for an opportunity to do this. Like, this never happens. And like, the stars have never aligned in this way to where I could return the same exact gesture to you. But it wasn't like, oh, I need to go get Bryson a Coke because Bryson always gives me Coke. It was, wow, he always does this really nice thing and it makes me feel so good. And I'm so excited that I finally get to do this really nice thing for him. And now I get to make him feel special in that same way.
Yeah. So then he said, do you or have you ever done something for your significant other without thinking about what's in it for you? And I can answer this really quick and easy. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
on a daily basis.
I mean, we literally just talked about how we had no idea we could get so turned on from pleasing our partner in the last episode.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like for us and our mindsets around it, we're very much happy to do something our partner asks or even give without being asked.
Yeah.
I would love to ask this question to anybody listening. I feel like it's a good question. I feel like there's just like this parentheses around this whole topic a little bit of like in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Because it is not one size fits all. And if you are in a transactional relationship where that is the premise of the relationship, then maybe not.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's so many different levels of transactional relationships. In this context, we're talking about sexual. But I feel like even emotionally, there's transactional relationships and friendship-wise and just in all aspects of life. So that happens. Even in probably the healthiest relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we all see the freaking TikToks and Reels where it's like the husband's cleaning or something so that they can, you know, get it on later. Like, and you know, it's kind of a joke, but like that's a thing. Like that is something, you know, sometimes we do, even in healthy relationships, do something in hopes that we'll get something. But it kind of comes back to that mindset around it, because if your mindset is, I'm cleaning the kitchen and doing the dishes because I want to get frisky later, and then if she says no, you get all bitchy and mad about it, then that's a problem. That's leading to like animosity, resentment, and a whole multitude of other issues.
No, I agree.
The next one is, have they done things for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that we're both dating men.
We're dating men, period. Sorry, but it's true.
It is. Actually. No, I think we're both dating men who's, so they say that you have like, they have your love languages that you like to receive love, and then you have your love languages where you like to show love.
Yes.
Right? So we're both dating men whose love language to show love is acts of service. Yeah. These men just be doing shit
all the time.
It's so cute.
It's so sweet.
I love it so much. I've never had someone just do things.
No. Like without any expectations at all. Doing it with the intention to just make you happy.
Just do things, period. And then walk away and be like, okay.
Well, it's ingrained in who they are.
It is.
That's foreign in itself.
Yes. I'll like thank him all the time and he's like, I'm just existing.
Do you know what Henry says? He's always like, it's just your world and I'm living in it.
I love that.
He tells his favorite thing to say that he said since we started dating was, I live to serve. I live to serve you.
I say that to Bryson all the time.
Do you really?
I say,
oh my gosh, you do it in a weird way, don't you?
I do.
You do. Anyway, you little whore.
I say, I live to serve, Mr. Stone.
Okay. Are we in 50 Shades?
We are.
Good.
We are.
You deserve it. It is hard, though, when you have someone, we're not complaining for the record, but when you have someone who's loves you in acts of service, it's a beautiful thing. It's lovely to be on the other end of it, but it's still hard because even though we don't keep tabs, I wish I could do as much as he does for me. I really do. But it doesn't come naturally to me. I won't lie. Acts of service is not my natural way to show love.
Mine either.
When we first moved in together, Henry started getting me flowers every Friday. I'm such a diehard flower girly. We've lived together almost 2 years now, and he's been doing it ever since, and it still makes my day every single time. It never gets old. It just makes me feel so loved and taken care of, even though it's just flowers. I get it, they die, but something I love and appreciate, and he noted that and he started doing it. But for the longest time, I tried so hard to figure out something I could do because that was like somewhat equivalent, and I could never figure it out, and I had to let it go eventually. I had to realize like I don't have to reciprocate that specific thing, like get him something every Friday or cook him a steak dinner every Friday because he's getting me flowers. He was just doing it because he loved me, and then I just kind of had to let it go. I don't really feel like I had an aha moment where I was like, oh, this is unhealthy side of me. Nothing like that. It was just a kind of a realization, like it's okay to just be loved.
That sounds fake.
I know it is fake. But yeah, I know. So I get what you mean. Like,
all right, I think we have one last question.
We do. Okay. He asks, what happens when the tables turn and someone is upset that they didn't get what they wanted, or they're not into whatever that is? It's just some food for thought. Love, Shadow Daddy.
I'm trying to think if I have an example for my whore year.
I don't have a literal example because I don't know if it would count, but situationship guy, like, Do you remember that time when him and I when we started dating, things cooled off and then we were restarting, he was trying to be more intentional with me, and then he asked me like, well, why aren't we having sex? So I don't know if that really counts as an example of it, but it kind of felt like a little bit like that for me.
See, that was kind of what I was thinking too, was the last time that he doesn't have a code name yet.
Can you give it, like, can you think of one that I would, like, recognize? You can just talk about it and I can...
Cheap?
Okay.
The last time that he came over, the disconnect had been disconnecting, right? And we didn't see each other very often. And so when we did see each other, it was kind of like rabbits going at it. I've already told Bryson this. Just this man being in my apartment, I felt like I was cheating on Bryson. I'm talking, me and Bryson had only been talking for like a week and a half at this point. Like, there was nothing serious, like, at all. And just this man being in my house, I already felt like I was cheating on him. And so, like, I don't even think I kissed him. I felt very weird. Everything felt very distant. And he literally, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm home for the day. I'm at my apartment, whatever. And he was like, oh, I'm going to come over. I have, like, a little present I got for you. And I was like, okay, cool. Literally, this man just sat on my bed while I folded laundry. And we chit-chatted and talked. And then he was like, okay, well, I gotta go. I gotta go back to work. And I was like, okay, bye. And he kind of threw, like, a little hissy fit. That we didn't go at it. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, respectfully, you're 40. You have to know that, like, we don't have to fuck every time we see each other, right? Like, also, respectfully, our relationship made it a hot minute before we actually had sex for the first time. So, like, calm down, sir. We both know you're gonna be all right. And I remember just feeling really weird about it. I had so many conflicting emotions, and then, like, his little hissy fit just made it so much worse. And he wasn't flipping tables. He wasn't being mean. I didn't feel scared or threatened by it. Like, it wasn't anything like that. I could just tell that he felt some kind of way about it.
Yeah.
And because of that, because up until that point, I had kind of done whatever I could to appease him in every way.
Yeah.
God, that sounds so disgusting coming out of my mouth. But I did. Yeah. Like, I was
give yourself some grace. Due to the nature of y'all's relationship, it was very much a kind of hop too.
Yeah, I know. But it was very weird. It was, I think that's the only real kind of, at least recent experience, right? Like, I'm sure if I thought on this question for a while, I could probably come up with more. But he very much walked in the door expecting something. Had a gift in hand, expecting me to, be on my knees, thankful, and all the things. When I very much wasn't, he didn't really know how to act about it.
And so he did what a lot of men do, and they throw a tantrum about it.
Yeah. Is that fair because the precedent was set and I didn't communicate? Maybe
on that aspect you should openly communicate, sure. But I feel like that's a little tricky too.
But, like, up until that point, like, I'm not saying he was right. Like, and again, he didn't do anything crazy bad. Like, I want to put that on the table. He didn't call me names. When I say he had himself a little hissy fit, what I mean by that is that he, like, waited an extra 10 minutes to reply to a text that he usually would have replied to. So, you know what I mean? Like,
I understand. I remember when you told me about this, and I agree. Like, I know he didn't feel threatened, but I do think he's not entitled to your body, your company, your time, just because of a precedent, even. It's like saying, are wives supposed to have sex with their husbands? They're married.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, well, in my mind, no. If you ask my ex-husband, on the other hand, it's yes. But no, like, I don't think you're entitled to anybody's time, body, anything. Doesn't matter if the precedent has been set or not. I do think open communication is the key in any relationship, sugar daddy or not. But, like, also, no. Like, people they're entitled to how they're feeling. 100%. He can be disappointed. He really wanted to get his dick wet. Like, I get that. Do you know how many times I wanted to get my dick wet and it hasn't happened? Like, I go home and I take care of business myself. Like, that's just the nature of life. That's the name of the game when it comes to dating and relationships.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
That's fair. I'm just playing both sides of the argument.
I mean, that's what we're here to do. I feel like a key part of what he's asking is what happens when the tables turn. So like what happens? Like when the tables turn and someone's upset, they didn't get what they wanted, or they're not into whatever is going on.
So I think that kind of what he's implying, or the question that he's asking, say we're having sex, we're in a scene or whatever, and someone does something out of the blue that maybe perhaps we didn't communicate before, that the person isn't into. That's something that I don't necessarily have firsthand experience with. That I can recall at least.
I have a couple.
Okay.
Did you have more of a thought? Sorry.
No, go.
So my ex-husband one time decided to put his finger in my ass without my permission, and I did not like that.
Did he at least like lick it first?
I know, it was a surprise attack from the back, like just right up there. It was so unexpected because one, never done that before. There was no communication about it.
Nothing worse than a dry finger up your ass.
But I just remember in that moment I was just so taken aback, and some people wouldn't be. He could have literally just been like, hey, I'm gonna put a finger up your ass.
I don't think anyone would be cool with a dry finger up their ass. I enjoy some ass play. I'll say that on the internet.
That's fine.
That's fine for right now. Maybe we'll go further later. I don't know. Don't stick a dry finger up my ass. Don't stick a dry finger up my ass unless you want to get a straight closed fist to your dome. Don't do it.
There's nothing worse.
There's nothing worse.
I understand that in some settings, like, yes, you're, I guess, able to experiment without, like, direct verbal communication. I'm not saying you need direct verbal communication every single time, but I do think it depends on the relationship. In my relationship at that time, that was not something like, we were nowhere on that level. And so it definitely took me by surprise. But I don't know, like, what happens? I mean, you try and set the boundary, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really have a first-hand... I feel like he's asking kind of like the aftermath.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that does happen. I don't want to say it happens often because in theory, there's good communication prior and during, right? In situations like that, for example, what happened to me, if there had been communication of any fucking sort, it would have been different. And I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more because I would have known what was happening and what to expect and that kind of thing. And so sometimes scenes do get carried away. Like, you pull out flogging, for example, because we already talked about that. You pull out a flogger that, say, you agreed to do 6 different kinds of floggers, right? And you're still enjoying yourself. You're having fun. You ask for more. So I bring out a 7th, and it's a different kind. And that one you didn't like. So then afterwards, you talk about you didn't like that one. Your thought process was, I want more. You thought I was going to pull out one of the 6 we already tried. That sort of thing, I think maybe is what he's talking about. Like, you didn't enjoy it. Let's talk about it. I mean, I would hope.
Yeah, but I also would think that he would know that not everybody's in the kink community. I feel like he could also be asking in a more general sense. It does make you wonder a little bit. Because I do think, although that there are probably a lot of people out there with kinks or who are more into kinks than we realize, I do think it's still a more niche community.
I feel like it also kind of translates, though, like, into normal relationships. For example, like, in my marriage, this is common knowledge now on the podcast that choking me is a prerequisite to my sex life, right? My ex-husband didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it.
Did he try?
He did try.
And he didn't like it. So what happened?
He didn't do it.
Was there a conversation?
There was conversations around it. And it wasn't just choking, right? There were other things. I wanted more. And I didn't have necessarily the right words and tools that I have now. But I knew that I wanted more. And it just really wasn't something he wanted. Towards the end, he got a little more comfortable with spanking. But it wasn't something that he actually enjoyed. He would do it, but I knew that he wasn't actually enjoying it. And he was just doing it because he knew I enjoyed it. And kind of took some of the fun out of it for me. You know what I mean? And so that concept does translate into regular relationships, because if, for example, you really liked to be bent over and Hank didn't like that position, but he knew that you liked it, so you guys did it, but if you knew that he didn't like it as much, it would take some of the fun out of it for you.
Well, yes and no, though, because I think it also depends on certain aspects of it, because I think a lot of times in relationships, there's going to be things that your partner wants and you don't, or vice versa, or maybe you're just not as into, but you do it because you love that person.
Ew, give me an example.
Gosh. Some people don't like to be on top. I mean, like you were just saying with positions, like some women hate it, but their mans are really into it, so they'll do it. I think that, unfortunately, this may be a woman brain thing on our end where we're thinking about like the enjoyment of it.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm not saying there's not men out there that they don't care if their partner's like uncomfortable. It's not that. I'm trying to think for my personal, because I feel like that's an easier thing to reference than some vague hypothetical. I think another good example in a general sense would be sometimes when a position's uncomfortable, I think women are more willing to like grin and bear it for their partner. I don't know, like every time a position hurts, like straight doggy has always hurt me. Like I'm talking like straight up hand, like all fours. It's not the most comfortable. If it's done correctly, I feel like there's pleasure in a little bit of the pain.
I do.
It's just not the most comfortable position for me. With that being said, like I would do it because it's just like you grin and bear it because it, it's the position your partner wants to do.
Okay, so what's your favorite position?
I used to say being on top, but not anymore, I guess, because I'm a pillow princess now, unfortunately. But pillow princess not in a missionary way. I don't know what it's actually called, but like...
The paralyzed frog?
Describe the paralyzed frog and maybe. Is that when you're on your back?
Yeah.
No, I'm not on my back. I'm on my stomach.
Oh, okay.
It's like doggy but laying down, or like knees up but chest down.
Okay.
Or like the sleeper angle.
That's your favorite position?
I really enjoy it, yeah.
If you found out that Henry doesn't like that position, would you still like it as much?
Would I still like it as much?
Yes.
I think I would still like it. Would I want to do it as much? I would probably want to venture off, but I'm saying that women are more likely to do that. Maybe that's a hot take in itself, but like...
Should we call Bryson?
I think we might need to call it. I understand what you're saying. It took some of the enjoyment out of it for you.
Hello. Hey, I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you found out that I didn't like to give you blowjobs, would you enjoy getting blowjobs as much?
Probably, because you doing it means you're going out of your comfort zone.
You would still like it just as much?
Yeah.
I can't fucking stand you.
I was right. I'm sorry. I'm gonna ride that one.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. He's gonna need some context in a little bit.
Throw him in the
Do you want me to call Henry
trash.
for science purposes?
Kind of.
Okay, we'll ask him the same question. Hey, baby, I have a quick question for you. If you found out that I didn't like giving you blowjobs, would you still enjoy getting them?
I don't think you do like it, so it doesn't bother me.
I can't stand you.
You can't call me any time past 8:30 and I expect a dick-ass answer. That's all I gotta say to you.
Can you give me a real answer, please?
Yeah, I don't think it'd bother me. Like, huh, it's your job.
We cannot put this... he's doing this on purpose. We cannot put this in the podcast. Compare it to Bryson's answer.
Bryson literally just said yes because it'll put you out of your comfort zone.
Is that not worse than it's my job?
No, I think that they're the same.
It's the same thing, just said differently.
His was nicer, at least.
I don't think so.
Well, I'll explain it when I get home. I love you.
Okay, love you.
Bye. Hey, well, there we have it, folks. I was right.
The male brain is a curious place to be.
That's my point, is all I was trying to say. It's not that I think our partners don't care about us. I just think they don't think about it the same way we do.
I'm gonna sit on this man's face this weekend. Fuck all my insecurities about how I was worried about sitting on this man's face. I'm gonna sit on this man's face this weekend.
Amen. As you should.
I'm gonna make it...
You're gonna make it rain on his face? You're thinking it. I feel like Alyssa's contemplating her life right now.
That's what I just learned from this conversation.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. I feel like that's a great takeaway. But that's kind of what my point is. I wouldn't have phrased it the way Bryson or Henry phrased it, but I think that in my head, from what I know about men, is that it's not that they don't care that we're uncomfortable. It's more that we're just doing it anyway. And sometimes I will do something for my partner because I know it's going to make them happy. That's why I bring up the sex position example, because I feel like every once in a while, if I'm doing doggy just the wrong angle, it's going to hurt me a little more. And like I said, sometimes it feels a little, okay. But other times I'm like, that's actually uncomfortable. Like one time, I think I was close to my period. Like I was definitely just more sensitive.
Yeah.
And I think he could feel my tension because of that.
I can't do doggy the couple days after I get off my period.
Yeah, you're very sensitive down there. Like, and he could just sense that I was uncomfortable and he like stopped and he was very concerned. He definitely cared. Now, if I was searing pain, I probably would have stopped, but it was just more uncomfortable. And so I feel like he, like when he kind of gave me that out, I was like, okay, yeah, like you're right. We should change positions. We should figure something out, But I was kind of willing to do it because that was the position we were in and that's where things were leading and whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was going to be pain until I was.
Yeah. Well,
Well, that's it.
That's our first listener email conversation. We did that. Are we legit?
I feel pretty legit.
I kind of want to cry.
It's a big moment. We've had 2 submissions now, and I'm really excited.
We're like on week 7.
This will be week 7 when this goes out.
Yeah.
But we've only put out technically 6 weeks because we did 2 episodes in a week.
That's so crazy.
I mean, I think that's correct. I'd have to look at a
I
calendar.
think that's correct. That's so insane.
It's been so much fun. I mean, we talked about this before we start recording. Like, the trajectory we're on now, it's completely different than what we had imagined, but in the best way.
So send us more emails so we can do this more, because it was really fun.
Yeah.
Like, when we were sending the emails back and forth, I think I said it multiple times, actually, that, like, the beginning stages of a podcast really does feel like a one-way conversation, even though there's 2 of us here. Like, it still really does feel like we're just talking to the microphones, and even though we're talking to each other, there's like an invisible third person here.
It's a sad menage a trois.
Yes. So when people actually talk back to us, it's really nice.
Every time we get a DM, we're texting each other, oh my gosh, you got a DM. We're schoolgirls, and we are y'all's biggest fans, and we're so grateful that you guys are actually enjoying what we're putting out, because I mean, we're still winging it. We're figuring it out. We had an idea, and we're really excited to see where this continues to go.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to ask the live studio audience, what do they want to be called?
Alyssa likes Gravediggers, pending copyright approval.
Yeah, I feel like we have to look into that. What's something creative?
You can't ask me right now.
Also, I saw this thing on Instagram where we can make a club. I don't think it's called a club. Don't come at me. It's for sure not called that. We can make a big group chat with everyone.
Pods, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
That's what we call it in the photography community, or that used to be what we called them. Instagram pods. It was used to like promote each other's work, ask each other questions, that kind of stuff.
Would you guys be interested in a group chat?
We love a good group chat.
If you guys are interested in a group chat, let me know. I'll set it up. I have no clue.
We can also post this to the stories this week and ask.
I don't know how it works, but I got invited to join a group chat from something. I thought that was really cool. Also, our Graves pod joined Lemonade and Blue Sky.
I don't
today.
know what Blue Sky is, but
Blue Sky is the new Twitter.
I thought Threads was the new Twitter.
No.
Aren't you?
Twits. I'm on Threads.
I don't even have a personal Threads.
You're so lame.
Do you post on Threads?
Yes.
What the fuck? I guess I'm missing out.
You are so old.
No,
it's embarrassing.
No one else could make me want to join Threads but my best friend. You realize that?
I need you to get with the times, child. Anyways, that's it. We don't have a cool sign off yet. I gotta put that on the fucking to-do list.
Until next time.
TTYL.
XO.